YouTube is flooded with video about gimbal movements, but you always gotta consider the actual context behind your shot. In this video, we're gonna cover the main reason behind each gimbal camera movement, and then we're gonna find out which are the best situation to perform these movements. This was literally like the 10th time I was trying to do this intro, so let's finally get into it. The first thing you gotta know is how do camera movements differentiate. There's two different camera movements which are the basic of camera movements, which are motivated and unmotivated camera movements. The motivated camera movements is when the subject is actually moving, and so the camera is moving to, for example, following our subject. The unmotivated camera movement is when the camera is moving and there is no actual reason for the camera to be moving. So our subject can be still and our camera is moving either around it or pushing towards it. Love my dog. And this action can be done to reveal something or to just have the audience drawn into the scene or into the subject. Also, one main thing to remember when you're shooting on a gimbal is to pretty much let the camera float through hair. Any little small jitter or any unwanted movement is going to take the audience away from the sequence that you're actually shooting. So practice your ninja walk and just move slowly and smoothly. Shot number one is the tracking shot. This is probably the one that you're most familiar with. The tracking shot is a great way of showing your subject interacting with the surrounding and revealing a lot of the environment around him or her. It can also create a great sense of connection with the viewer. It is also very important that you keep the same camera pace as the subject to just make the shot feel a lot better. And also, if you want to add a bit of action and something a bit more exciting to the shot, you can try this shot low to the ground or use some foreground when you're tracking the subject sideways, for example. Always make sure you drop down a shot list, just because if you have just a bunch of tracking shots, it's just going to become very repetitive and it's not going to be entertaining to watch a video where basically you're just tracking a person in different ways throughout the scene. So mix all of these shots together to make a sequence work. Push forward shot. This shot is the best way of introducing the subject's feelings and emotion by bringing us closer to the action. It's a great way to establish importance of a subject as well as a lead into your next shot. Just remember that if you do a push forward shot, your next shot should be a tight one to capture the actual emotion and feelings of the subject. Otherwise, it's just not going to look good if you have a pushing forward shot and then you have something going back or like a wider shot. If you push forward, make sure that your next shot is tight. Orbit shot. Usually only performed halfway, as you rarely would actually need to go all around the subject. This shot is used to reveal the environment around the subject or to implement motion and different dynamic into the scene. In case of your subject moving in any ways in the shot, make sure that you use this shot the opposite way of the subject is moving. So if the subject is moving to the left, you want to pan to the right and the opposite. Also, this shot can be very repetitive and very quickly, so make sure that you don't overuse this and maybe just use it once or maximum twice in your sequences. Extra tip over there, if you do want to make this shot a bit more interesting, try and use a tighter lens. Like this, for example, I shot on a 70mm and on a 24mm. On a 24mm, it's a lot more interesting to see all the environment around our subject, while on the 70 creates this nice vertigo, almost parallax effect, which can be very interesting. The pullback shot. The main reason to do this shot is to reveal someone or something important, something that wasn't in your scene when you started the movement. This movement is a great way of ending a scene or to transition into a different scene. For example, I used our model walking into the scene and I was panning back from the ocean and the cliff, and you can see her approaching the last bit of our sequence, revealing her looking down on the water and on the cliff. Crane shot. This is my favorite way to introduce a subject into a location by having a super crazy wide shot. I love to do this on a 14 or a 16mm. I use a 24 in this case because I didn't have my 14mm. But as you can see, as I'm panning down, it reveals from the sky, reveals the subject and the whole location, so you can understand where we are and what we are doing, what is the subject doing. I really like to use this shot either at the start or towards the end of the video, where usually the music is a bit slower. This shot doesn't really fit if the music is very upbeat or very fast, mostly because your audience should have the time to enjoy the whole length of the shot. You can't really cut halfway through. But if you're in need of introducing a scene or a location or a subject and you need a very fast-paced, energized shot, I would recommend either a tracking or a push forward shot. There is so many other ways that you can use the gimbals. There is so many other different shots. These are only a handpicked of my favorite shots. And I also really enjoy to shoot handheld most of the time. So I don't really use a gimbal too much, but when I do these days, I 100% do a shot list and 100% trying to be very specific with the shots I'm doing on a gimbal. I don't just hold it and kind of run around with it. So the more specific you are with your shots and the more specific you are with your gimbal, the better. Just make a shot list and make sure you don't overuse it. I hope you guys did learn something new in this video, and if you did so, leave a like and subscribe below. As always, I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next video.